Hello, how are you? Amanda, Seint Artist. We're going to talk about acne, scarring, and active breakouts. So I'm going to use my Seint Makeup because this is the best for when you have textured skin, especially from breakouts. We just got done with COVID. People were wearing masks and it wreaked havoc on our faces. I used to get cystic acne, and one of my biggest insecurities was using my traditional makeup with a concealer on top, and then I would set it with a powder because I didn't want it to rub off and move. And I thought it would hide my cracks because I used to get cystic acne, so they were kind of cratery. But adding that powder changed the consistency, but then piling on all that product, because then I was putting on blush because it's in that blush zone, it made it look really gunky. And so with Seint, I'm able to cover it. Texture is texture is texture. We can't take it away, but my traditional makeup easily accentuated the texture of my breakouts. Seint Makeup doesn't do that. It helps to hide it. It doesn't take it away, but it does help to hide it. So I'm going to do my makeup. I'm going to use my top 3 brushes. So it is going to be the blush and bronzer brush. I love this brush. It is going to be the detail brush. I love this brush. And then I'm going to use the blend brush. This one's important because if you have scarring, you're going to need to do some correcting and a little bit of extra work. So that's what we're going to get into. I'm going to use all of my favorite correctors: Mango, Aspen, Suede. I've got a little bit of Demi here, and we're going to dig into it. The first thing I want to do is camouflage and mute some colors. So I'm going to use the small end of my blend brush, and I'm going to go into Aspen, and I just smash in, and I want to reduce the redness first. So go over those hormonal breakouts and mute redness, okay? That's the only thing. We're not wanting to cover it. We're wanting to mute the redness. Go over any redness around your nose, maybe on the tip. I've got an active breakout right up here, and I'm just muting the redness. I have a broken capillary, so I just smoosh over that, and that's it. That's all I need to do. I'm gonna go to the big end, and I'm gonna camouflage my hyperpigmentation. I'm gonna use Suede, and I go around it, and then I go up. And I use this as a way of hiding it without covering it. It's right in a high traffic area for me, and that's why I have to do it this way. You can use Demi over top if that's what you want to do, but because this is also my contour, blush, and bronzer area, I don't like to add yet another product on top, and that's why I add my Suede in this general area. It's also kind of an underpainting. I love something that does more than one thing, and Suede is that for me. It's so good. So that's what I do with Suede. With my under eyes, I do prefer the look of Demi, and I've been going in between these 2 colors. So YO1 takes care of my deepness. So when you're covering colors, it's all about what you're wanting out of your makeup. I do prefer on my face to not use Demi because it is so creamy. Makeup is creamy, but if I'm using it as a corrector, I'm not wanting that cream to move. And when you're putting it on the base of your face, you're wanting something that's going to stay where you put it, but you also are wanting it to hold your makeup in place over those imperfections. With my under eyes, I don't quite need all that. So I took YO1 on that inner corner. Now I'm taking 03, and I'm just draping it down here in my trough area where I just have a little extra deepness to my skin tone, and it helps lighten things up for when I brighten. It's great I like it. That's why I do it. That's why I do everything. It's what works. All right. So with my acne scarring, if it is showing through, this is a big thing for me. After your breakouts are gone, you still have this leftover pigment that can easily pull through your foundation, but you're not wanting to add concealer. Concealer is very thick, and you typically have to set it with a powder, which changes the consistency. It can make it chalky. It can easily over texturize, especially in this area where you have large pores and you have smile lines. Mine cracked apart and it looked awful. Creams don't do that. They do move, but they're resettable without adding more product. I'm going to take the fluffy end of my blend brush, and I'm going to use Mango because Mango is darker than my skin tone. So the redness is gone, but I'm wanting to cover up the spots. And I have to use a color darker than my main highlight. So this is Mango, and this is my foundation right here, Athens. I'm going to take this fluffy and I'm going to stamp into Mango, and I'm going to go over my acne scarring right here. And I'm going to build this, and I just want to put it where the acne scarring is to cover it. That's it. I'm going to put some right here, but I'm spot treating, okay? This is just to give me extra coverage, and because it's creams and I'm using a light coverage brush, the pigmentation is 80%, so I'm needing less. I'm still gonna have less makeup on than I do traditionally, and I'm still gonna have that full coverage that I like. But if you have scarring and your main highlight is just not cutting it, get a shade or two darker. Okay, so if you're sandy, I would look at Mango or Goddess. If you're Mango or Goddess, just bump it up a little bit more. But also, talk to me. I really jam out on my color correcting, and I'll talk all day, all night about it because I love learning new techniques. It's my favorite. I am always here to talk to you, but you don't really see it. It is a different color. This is darker than my actual skin tone. So now I'm gonna go into my blush and bronzer, and I'm gonna go into Athens, right here, going into Athens, and I'm only gonna place this on the lower part of my face. Now, as I get into the places where I've corrected, I'm gonna move from swiping right here to stippling this. I'm stippling it over and letting it get in with that corrector and that coverage. The aspen that I put on and the suede I put on is going to hold that mango, and it's going to hold my main highlight in place so I get longevity out of my makeup over those areas that I'm insecure about. And that's really all that matters. Makeup is not for anybody else. Makeup is for you and making you feel good. So put it on the way you like it and get what you want out of your makeup, because you're not wearing makeup for me. You're not wearing it for your husband or your boyfriend, fiance, whatever, girlfriend, wife. You're not wearing it for anybody else but you. Because when you walk by a mirror, you want to like what you see back. And if that's with makeup, that's with makeup. If it's not with makeup, it's not. If you over apply, which I always do, I just stamp over with a fluffy brush. That's it. That's all the main highlight that I need. I'm going to go and I'm going to switch to my detail brush, and I'm going to kind of stay with this one for a while. I'm gonna contour next. I'm going into indigo. It's a dark, scary color, and I like using this color for tutorials because I like to show that that tin is dark. I like to show these colors and how forgiving they are. So I just sweep across, back and forth, and then I just use a little circle over here to follow the natural curvature of my skull. That's all we're doing, because we're wanting to give ourselves coverage. My contour is still 80% pigmentation, and so I'm still able to give myself coverage and dimension because it's my foundational coverage. When I go over here where I put that suede, I'm just stamping and I'm accentuating a shadow. That's it. And having that suede under it makes it possible for me to not have to use as much. And then I'm just gonna tap in over here and I pull it up towards my temple. I don't put a big smear of a top part of a 3 and then smear for the bottom part of a 3. That's using more product than you need, and you don't need it. So I'm just accentuating. I hang mine back, and this just gives me a little more of a lift on my cheekbones. I'm gonna use my fingers. This is the best way for me on my nose, and I touch them and it makes a little triangle. And if they touch and the contour comes together, it does. I'm able to fix that later. I'm just gonna square off the tip, follow this down, but that's how I like to apply my contour. I know it looks weird, but it all works out in the blend. All right, so we're gonna tap it out. I'm tapping because I have a bump and I don't want a high point, and then I'm gonna bridge it together. Yep, this is why it's all fixable. It's because I bridge it together, taking care of the tip, but I just like to focus the dark point on the sides where I really need it, and then I blend it out, blend it over, round off the tip. Taking that small end, and I'm gonna pinch it and make it flat and straight. I'm gonna go into White Peach, which is my brightening, and I'm gonna go down the bridge right there. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm gonna grab a little more and I'm gonna put a dot right here in the middle. Your brightening highlight should be a couple shades lighter than your actual skin tone. This is creating reflecting light. Your shadows bring in, your brightness brings out. So I'm just gonna use my finger and I just swipe it and tap the tip, and it straightens everything out and it gives you a nice looking schnoz, right? I love a good schnoz. You don't want to be a brown nose, like in general, let alone with contour. All right, so I underblend this a bit. I want this to look a bit like a dark smudge. I'm gonna grab a little more contour, so I just stamp a little and I'm gonna go in front of that earlobe and down. But adding this, I do some correcting at the beginning, but then in general, I don't like to touch up my breakouts, definitely not an outbreak, but I like to check it when it's done. Trust the process, trust the pigmentation of the makeup, and address it at the end because your blush could cover it, your bronzer could cover it. So trust the process and wait to the end. Oftentimes I talk about covering things and at the end I don't even address the original issue because I've covered it well enough that I've forgotten about it. And that could be the case this time. All right, I'm gonna go into my bronzer. I always add a touch of warmth, and I'm gonna go into my Bella bronzer with my brush. These brushes are what I recommend for first timers. Blush and bronzer, because you get it in a collection with your bronzer, saves you $11. And the detail brush is just so good for contouring and brightening. I love it. So I'm gonna take that bronzer and I'm going to pop it up here on this high point and then right here on this high point. You can put it on your nose. I don't. I could if I wanted to, but for today's sake, I am not. So I'm adding that bronzer there and I'm adding it here. And this is why I underblend my cheek contour, because as I blend this, it blends that contour down and it's nice. Flip it to the fluffy and I grab that brightening and I pull it out. You see how there's dimension on my forehead? I've got a reflecting light, I've got contour, and I've got warmth. That's good stuff. I'm gonna take that bronzer here and I'm just gonna blend it down my cheek. I like bronzer in my blush and I like to put it on first. I don't know why. It's just a habit. It's what I do. Okay. I'm gonna do my under eyes last because it helps me rein some things in, but I am going to do blush. I'm gonna do the new shades of the season because they're flipping good. That's why I'm gonna use Wildflower, still available until all of these are while supplies last. And I'm gonna use Wildflower and I'm going to use Jolene. Jolene is one of those colors that if I don't show you, who's gonna buy that without seeing it be used? I don't know. But I like Wildflower because of my scarring. So it's another layer of foundational coverage. That's why you don't touch any of the scarring, any of the breakouts until after the makeup's on, because this is foundational coverage. That's 80% pigmentation. I'm gonna tap this on the apples where my scarring is. This is a satin finish. If you have scarring on your cheeks like I do, you want to kind of stay away, especially for this area, you wanna stay away from the glosses. It grabs it and it just kind of pulls makeup up and it just doesn't do what you need it to do. But this is gonna create an ombre, it's going to create a barrier that keeps my scarring from pulling through, and I'm able to use something punchy like Jolene. Going into the blush and bronzer brush, tapping into Jolene, which is orange, but it also has these really pretty flecks of shimmer. And they're not high fleck. You're not even gonna notice. It's just like a little goodie. I don't know. I'm gonna take it. It's on the brush. You see that orange? And I'm gonna start back here. When you're using a new punchy color, especially like Jolene, you wanna start towards the back in case you put it on and it's nuts, okay? But look at how it's buildable. I like how it looks so punchy in the tin and it goes on really, really nice. I'm gonna smile and I'm gonna blend in to that Wildflower color, and then I'm gonna bring it up, flip it to the fluffy end, and just marry it together. Isn't that pretty? It's not that crazy orange that you don't come out with circus orange on your cheek. All right, we're going up here, and I always hang mine back because as I'm maturing, I'm 42, the volume of my cheeks just aren't what they were when I was in my 20s. And so they're just kind of getting a little less voluminous. And so I smile so I can see them and I bring the color down. I don't apply it first here. Otherwise it ends up looking a little circus clowny. And then I tap it out. Okay, I am going to spray my face and I'm going to do my setting powder because I don't want to accentuate my under eyes. So I'm gonna take my Urban Decay, spray all over, and while it's still kind of moist, my lashes, I'm gonna go in with the fluffy end into my setting powder. I'm gonna start on the outside and I'm gonna work my way and pressing that setting spray into my makeup and also working with this powder so that it doesn't create heavy texture. But you want to apply it on the outermost parts of your face and then bring it in. When you think it's empty, that's when you bring it into your face because it's still there. All right, this is where I'll address if I have any breakouts that need to be helped. This is where I'll do it. And I always touch it up with the blend brush. Grabbed the wrong brush, but blend brush, and you can use your main highlight for this part. So it's showing a little bit here. I'm just gonna use that big end. I'm gonna tap in, and And I'm just going to touch it up with this little fluffy end. And then blend it out, grabbing a little more, and I'm going to go right in this area here. And then I can grab that wildflower and go over it a little more like that. And it just works. And I'm going to grab a little more Jolene. I like a really punchy cheek, but this Jolene is really something special because it's something that's surprisingly wonderful. All right, let's do our lips. I like to contour my lips, and I'm going to do it with suede lip liner because I just think indigo's a little too dark. So I'm going to go in, I'm using the multitasker brush. I'm going to go into suede, and I'm going to go really thick right here. I like it good and thick here, and then I just pull it up and outside of my lip line. This is creating a shadow that also is going to add a pucker. It's going to make your lips look like they have a curl. I outer line the top lip, but this is going to get blended out, okay? Then I'm going to grab my finger here. I'm going to grab my brightening, and I'm going to go right outside the corners of my mouth. This is creating that pout. I don't like, you can go all the way around with your contour if that's the look you want with your lips. It's not the look I like with my lips, and I use, oh, I got a little, oh gosh, what is on my hands? I got something on there. Let's fix it. Grab a little Athens, tap that over, grab a little white peach, tap that over. Boom, we're back in business. Tap out your brightening first, and then you're just gonna go and sweep over that contour, and you're gonna blend it out on the top and the bottom. I'm gonna push up right here to push it up into the middle of that Cupid's bow because it's a really pretty area, and it just creates that pout. I don't do the lip filler things, hence I have wrinkles around my lips. I am going to do the lip combo Renaissance. I know it's not available anymore, but for those who got it, get it. If you didn't get it, there's a link in my description for a lip liner by MAC. It's called Half Red, and it's the best dupe. I'm going to use the tiny end of my multitasker brush, and I'm going to outline my lips. Not outer line. I'm just going to outline. I always start on the inside first. Needs a lot of help. Then I just pull it down like that. And then I'm going to get my bottom lip. I start on the outside and around. Outside and around. Contouring my lips, it just makes me feel like my lips are fuller, and I like that. I mean, it's honestly just doing what you like on your face over and over again, and everything works out. Okay, I'm going to take one of these new shades of the season. I'm going to take Homecoming. I really like this one. This one's Homecoming. It is a gloss. I prefer a gloss. Homecoming's great on top of colors also. Not as good as Maui, but it goes great on top of colors. And if you have chapped lips, you want to use a gloss. I use satins, but I always top it with a gloss or a balm. But this is just a really pretty neutral color. It's just a nice neutral peachy pink, and it goes so well with Renaissance. Look at how pretty that is. I have not tried Jolene on my lips, and today is not the day. I'm wearing purple, okay? But this is just such a really beautiful, pretty color. Okay, we're going in on the small end of the blend brush, and we're gonna do the under eyes next. Now, you don't need a lot. You actually want what you would expect to get, cut it in half. You want very little. So I'm gonna take that small end, I'm gonna tap it on, and I'm gonna use the detail brush on the other eye. You see that trough right there? Everyone has this. You start under it, and then you bring it up into that inner corner right there, and it helps to camouflage it. And then we pull it up over here. This just gives us a little bit of lift, and then bring it down onto that orbital bone and tap it together, and then tap it onto that soft tissue. The soft tissue is where you want the least amount of product because it's the part where you're going to texturize your under eye. If you could texturize a 10-year-old's under eye by using too much product, but it just gives you that, look at how pretty it just adds this little bit of brightness and youthfulness. All right, detail brush. I'm going to use a small end because if you don't have the blend brush and you did get the two I recommend, this is the small end. So again, under that trough, and then bring it up to that inner corner and around right there. And you want to leave it right there. Grab a little more. You want to barely tap. And again, grab right here and give yourself some lift. Tap that orbital bone, and then when you've emptied it all out, bring it up onto that soft tissue, and that is it. And then tap along that blush line. That's it. You can use both. I prefer the blend brush. It's a little more fluffy and it's a little easier, but you can use the small end of the detail brush. Super duper Charlie Cooper, easy. But that's it. So when you have, look at how pretty this finishes. It's not a lot of makeup. It's very little. My tins last me months. And so did my traditional foundation. I used to wear really thick, heavy makeup. It looked chalky. It looked thick. It looked cakey. It accentuated my pores. It cracked in around my nose where I have my smile lines and my nose line. Like, it got gunky in this area of my nose because I get red, so I had to add more concealer. And so having that extra heavy, thick makeup does what you want, but you're making a trade-off for it, and that's texture. With Seint, it's gonna move. All makeup should move. It's makeup, not magic. If it doesn't move, it's cracking. But if it moves and it's creams, you could just reset it with your finger. Just push it back and smash it back in place. If you're getting a lot of creasing under your eyes, that's just too much makeup. And that's it. That's my face with texture, with scarring. Let me know if you have any questions. I'd love to color match you, and have a great day.